Infamous up in this, you know how we get down. Is that your hoe? She feeling our style. We come through the spot real heavy on the waist. So when they wanna move, we put them in their place. Infamous up in this, you know how we get down. Is that your hoe? She feeling our style. We come through the spot real heavy on the waist. So when they wanna move, then we put them in their place. Yeah.
We are in Detroit, Michigan. It's the 14th of November 1999 and this is the 13th annual Survivor Series event from the WWF. We've got a lot to look forward to on this show, including the debut of Kurt Angle. We've also got Chris Jericho getting an IC title shot against Chyna, and of course the advertised triple threat WWF Championship match featuring champion Triple H, Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock. We've also got a few traditional Survivor Series matches, something we didn't get at last year's pay-per-view, and we kick the show off with one of these matches. It's the Godfather, D'Lo and the Headbangers versus the Dudley Boyz and the Acolytes. I'm seeing double, 4 Godfathers. So yeah, D'Lo and the Headbangers have changed up their attire to match our favourite distributor of dames, some with slightly more questionable results than others. The Dudleys ask if the Godfather's going to offer them some of his ladies of loose morals, but the Godfather politely rejects their request by taking the piss out of Bubba's stutter. Mosh gets defroed in the early going, but this doesn't stop him taking the early advantage on Bubba Ray Dudley. Thrasher comes in looking like Marwan Fellaini. See, Americans, we can do obscure sports references too. But Bradshaw looks to put an end to this foolishness by knocking his wig off. He then connects with his clothesline from hell to eliminate Thrasher, and it's down to 4-on-3. Devon makes his way into the match, and following a blind tag, the Dudleys are able to score with a 3D on Mosh, eliminating the second headbanger and giving their team a 4-on-2 advantage. In comes D'Lo to quicken up the pace, and the crowd start to pick up and chant for the former IC champ. D'Lo knocks Bradshaw off the apron, which annoys the big man to say the least, so much so that he grabs a chair and he whacks D'Lo across the back, getting himself DQ'd. He then cracks Bubba over the noggin with that same chair because, I don't know, reasons. Devon and Farouk then get into an argument about who's going to pin D'Lo. They then start to throw hands at each other before continuing to fight up the ramp, getting themselves counted out in the process. That leaves Bubba all alone against D'Lo and Godfather. D'Lo scores with a sky high, but it only gets a 2, so he looks to hit a Hurricane Rana off the ropes. But Bubba counters into a huge powerbomb. This one looked fantastic, by the way. Our match comes to an end as Godfather hits a hoe train in the corner, which sets up D'Lo to hit the lowdown for the win. A fun opener here, which didn't outstay its welcome, thankfully. After the match, the ladies get in the ring to celebrate with the boys, as well as Timmy White, who isn't shy about getting his filthy hands all over these poor women. The real dirty old bastard right here, ladies and gents. The in-ring TV debut of Kurt Angle's been hyped up for a few weeks now with some pretty great pre-tape promos. It's now time to see if this Olympic gold medalist, with all his accolades and all his achievements, can hang in a WWF ring. Kurt Angle's facing Shawn Stasiak tonight. The WWF show a short video all about Stasiak's dad, Stan the Man Stasiak, but let's be honest, no one cares. We all want to see what Kurt Angle's made of, and quick spoiler, Kurt does not disappoint. Kurt's being billed as the most celebrated real athlete in WWF history, and he's got the Patriots old theme music. Sergeant Slaughter also used this music at In Your House Generation X. I've no idea why I'm telling you this. Kurt begins with a snappy fireman's carry followed by a headlock takeover. He then performs a fantastic waistlock takedown before transitioning into a front chancery. Everything's picture perfect, yet the fans are already chanting boring. Vince McMahon knew that fans would see Kurt as smug and overconfident, and I also think fans had a preconception of Kurt Angle due to his amateur background, but it is kind of funny to see fans reject Angle even though he's done absolutely nothing wrong. As Stasiak gets the upper hand, the Detroit fans chant "Let's go Red Wings." Angle fires back with an overhead belly to belly that makes the crowd boo. Stasiak replies with a clothesline followed by a sidewalk slam, and Jerry Lawler explains that fans maybe aren't into the style of wrestling that Kurt performs, and that's why the audience is a little indifferent to what's going on inside the ring. Stasiak feels the pin Angle after a suplex. He welcomes Kurt to the WWF with a good old-fashioned chin lock, and when Kurt frees himself, Shawn goes down after a clothesline. Here's where the magic happens. This fan reaction was predicted well in advance. So Kurt grabs a microphone and he tells the audience they really shouldn't boo an Olympic gold medalist. Kurt says he came here for the people and they need to show him some respect. But when Kurt gets back in the ring, Stasiak lays in a few boots. Angle legit thought that the fans would love him. He also had this idea in his head that he had never taken a loss during his whole tenure in WWF. Thankfully, he got educated pretty early on how things work in the world of pro wrestling, and again, thankfully, he embraced being a heel. Stasiak applies chinlock number 2, Angle replies with a power slam. Kurt gets put down after a fireman's carry drop, but Shawn misses a flying crossbody. This allows Kurt to hit his signature Olympic slam, and Angle wins his pay-per-view debut match at Survivor Series. Kurt didn't miss a beat in regards to his in-ring performance. The WWF would build upon the crowd reaction he got here too, so while many may see it as a rough start in terms of audience reception, it all went as predicted.
You ever had sex? I haven't felt great. It felt so good when I did it with my penis. A girl let me do it. It literally just happened. Having sex can make a nice man out the meanest. Oh, hey.
I've never been more conflicted in my life. Team Blackman versus Team Bulldog. We've got Steve Blackman, Val Venis, Gangrel and Mark Henry taking on the team of Davey Boy Smith and the Mean Street Posse, a team better known as the Avengers. I think as long as either man goes the distance and makes it to the end, I'll be happy. That's what she said. And if the Mean Street Posse survive this match, I'll happily declare this as one of the greatest pay-per-view showdowns in the history of pro wrestling. Davey and Val Venis begin our match and the Bulldog gets all confused about which corner he needs to go to when trying to tag out, so not a great start for Davey. Absolute hard bastard Pete Gas gets in the ring, but he decides to tag out again after Val Venis flexes at him. Pete just didn't want to embarrass Val, I guess. Davey comes back in for a big vertical suplex. Pete Gas decides now's a better time to tag in, and Venis gets wrecked with a PDG catapult followed by a back suplex. A wrestling machine right here. Things quickly go downhill for the Gas Man when Steve Blackman tags in, but Steve remains cautious. He knows how difficult it can be defeating giant robot monsters like Pete Gas. Gas takes the motherfucker kick and our main man gets eliminated, but Rodney manages to dodge the MF kick, though he doesn't dodge the heart-stopping chest chop. Gangrel tags in and he eliminates Rodney after an Impaler DDT, so it's not looking good right now for Team Bulldog. We are now in danger of this being a clean sweep as Joey Abs comes in to do a little work with Mark Henry. Joey shows off his strength by dropping the big man on the top rope, but he tries a leapfrog teabag and he misses his target. Unfortunately, that's all she wrote for Mr. Abs as he falls victim to Mark's slip and slide teabag followed by a big splash. So Davey Boy Smith has to defeat 4 guys to win this match. This is how legends are made, ladies and gents, and Davey, oh fuck, did you see the way he twisted in midair right there? Instead of pinning Bulldog, Mark tags in Gangrel, and Davey eliminates the funky vampire after a sweet superplex. The superplex isn't a move that usually wins matches, but at the Survivor Series, you can eliminate your opponents with practically any move at all. And here we go folks, Steve Blackman versus the British Bulldog, worlds collide. The leader of the Avengers versus Sensei Mofug. Davey takes a backbreaker and a snap suplex. Blackman goes up for a diving headbutt, but Bulldog moves out of the way. Davey then performs a fisherman suplex, and my god, Steve Blackman's been eliminated. I'm not sure what I'm more surprised about, Blackman getting sent to the locker room or Davey actually having a chance at winning this thing. Both Mark Henry and Val Venis realise they need to double team the European champion if they want to stand a chance, but Davey pulls off a magnificent double clothesline. The boyhood dream comes to an end when Venis gets sent to the outside and Mark's able to destroy Bulldog behind the official's back. Mark performs a body slam followed by a big splash before Val goes up for the money shot. Davey, unfortunately, loses the match for his team. Not sure how the outcome benefits anyone involved as the WWF continue this half-ass weird push they have been giving Val Venis for a few months now, but this was a pretty forgettable Survivor Series match even though it featured some absolute legends, those being Rodney, Pete Gas and Joey Abs. Speaking of weird, Michael Cole walks into the women's locker room while Terry was half dressed. Ivory lets Cole rub her tummy while Jackie shoves her mama jammas in Michael's face. Michael gets further harassed when Ivory slaps his ass, but he does get invited to come back after the next match. It's Mae Young, Moolah, Tori and Deborah versus Ivory, Luna, Terry Runnels and Jackie. You may be thinking the WWF have lost track on who their babyface and heel women competitors are, but the fact of the matter is, this is pretty much their entire women's roster. It's pretty grim, isn't it? Even though there's 8 women involved here, this isn't a Survivor Series match. It's first fall to a finish and it doesn't even reach the 2-minute mark. Mae Young gets knocked out of the ring pretty early on, and from here Tori was given the most ring time, probably because she's involved in the Kane and X-Pac storyline. She performs a double clothesline before Moolah and Mae Young get in the ring for the finish. Jerry Lawler says these two belong in Jurassic Park as they take out Ivory, and Moolah gets a pinfall win. There's nothing to talk about here, unfortunately. After the bout, Deborah rips off Terry's top because God knows this crowd needed something to pop for, and Ivory fights with Moolah because the old bastard was celebrating with Ivory's championship belt. This was a terrible, terrible match. Lillian Garcia asks X-Pac if he's ready to face a determined and angry Kane tonight, to which X-Pac says he's already proved everything he needs to against the big goof. I pop big for the word goof, by the way. And Pac says it was he who carried Kane when the two were together as a tag team. He then calls the Big Red Machine sexually frustrated and impotent before walking away. That's one way to finish a promo, I suppose. Speaking of promos, we then see footage from Heat where Michael Cole asks Kane and Tori about this whole messy situation. Tori tells Cole that X-Pac stabbed Kane in the back despite Kane being the only one who stood by X-Pac, and she also says Pac has a little hose, as in he's got a wee dick. So yeah, fighting words here all around at Survivor Series. Anyway, we get to see who has the bigger hose right now as X-Pac takes on Kane. The sneaky X-Pac attacks Kane as the big man sets off his corner pyro, but his strikes have little effect as Kane throws Pac into the corner before laying in a few shots of his own. Pac is able to connect with his spinning heel kick in the opposite corner, but he ends up getting dropped with a clothesline from the Big Red Machine. Kane then goes to the top, but he gets crotched on the ropes following a dropkick, and then he falls to the outside. Pac bounces Kane's head off the steps before Kid ends up taking a few shots on the outside. Kane misses a clothesline though, and he wraps his arm around the ring post. Back inside the ring, Kid scores with a pair of spinning heel kicks, leaving Kane primed in the corner for a Bronco Buster. Kane is able to block it by grabbing X-Pac by the throat before he delivers a fantastic looking tilt-a-whirl backbreaker, and he follows up with a big boot. Kane goes back up top, and this time he is able to hit his top rope clothesline before signaling for the chokeslam. X-Pac gets sent for the ride, but as Kane goes for the cover, Road Dogg makes his way down the ringside to interrupt the pin. Kane goes to the outside to deal with the roadie, but he gets met with an X-Factor when he gets back inside the ropes. Kane does kick out at 2, so Pac heads up for a top rope crossbody, but he gets caught out, and Kane puts Pac in position for a tombstone. Just before he's able to hit his finishing move, Triple H comes to the ring and he clocks Kane with the WWF title belt, causing the referee to ring the bell for a disqualification. DX launch an attack on Kane and they put him in position for Pac to deliver a Bronco Buster. Before he can do it though, Tori comes down to the ring to make the save. She spins Pac around, but Waltman clocks her with a spin kick, not knowing who it was that was standing behind him. Either way, this enrages Kane and DX are forced to scatter as Kane tends to his fallen girlfriend. EMTs come down to take Tori away, including our blonde friend who's once again front and center. Tori gets revived and she and Kane make their way back up the ramp, so DX, especially X-Pac, had better keep an eye out for the Big Red Machine. Not only did Triple H interrupt this match, he also interrupted The Rock backstage. The Great One was just about to cut a promo when the WWF Champion shoved him, and we got a brawl before our next match. This upcoming WWF title match is heating up for sure, but it's going to take an unexpected turn in just a moment. A pretty infamous moment happened on SmackDown this past Thursday. The Big Show attended his dad's funeral, and so did the Big Boss Man. You know what happens next. In one of the funniest bad taste moments in WWE history, Boss Man shows up in the Bluesmobile. Yeah, it's definitely the Bluesmobile from the excellent Blues Brothers movie. But Boss Man is not on a mission from God. He announces that Daddy Big Show's dead as a doornail and no amount of mourning's gonna bring him back. Big Show's attempt at stopping the Boss Man didn't work, and so Big Bubba tied a chain to Daddy Show's coffin and he drove off while dragging the coffin close behind. It's so absurd that it's actually hilarious, and Big Show surfing on his dead dad's coffin's even more absurd. Absolutely top quality ridiculous nonsense right here from the WWF that's just as funny now as it was back then. Show was supposed to team up with Kai and Tai in the Blue Meanie tonight at Survivor Series, but he kicked all their asses backstage during Heat, and he wants to wrestle this elimination match all on his own. So it's Big Show versus Bossman, Albert, Viscera, and Mideon. Mideon with the absolute worst face paint in pro wrestling history. Looks like it was done with felt tip or permanent marker. Show runs down to the ring like a man possessed by his dead father, and the Bossman stays out of harm's way as Show wrecks everyone. A chokeslam eliminates Mideon in record time. Albert suffers the same fate about 5 seconds later. Show then displays some insane strength by body slamming Viscera, and we see yet another chokeslam. Keep in mind, this match hasn't even reached the 1 minute mark. Complete destruction from the big man. It's now time for the Bossman to meet his maker, but like the heel bastard he truly is, Bossman jumps down from the apron and he decides to leave the ring. Bubba would rather take a count-out loss than face the consequences of his actions, and I don't blame him either. Big Show wins this 4-on-1 Survivor Series match, and it all ends with Bossman getting chased back up the entranceway. Backstage, Triple H is now picking a fight with Stone Cold Steve Austin. The two brawl after Hunter spits a drink in Austin's face, and Stone Cold chases the WWF champion until they both go out of camera shot. We then briefly cut to Road Dogg and X-Pac seemingly running off in a different direction, and then we go to Austin, who's now lost Triple H. Austin shouts for Hunter to show himself, but a car appears and the driver proceeds to knock Austin down at high speed. Kinda funny how no one mentions WCW doing this exact same thing 2 weeks ago, but seeing as it was David Flair who got wiped out by Kimberly Page, I guess it just wasn't as important. We don't know who ran Austin down. Was it Kimberly Page? Was it Triple H? X-Pac? Maybe Road Dogg? We don't know, and we won't find out for quite some time. Stone Cold's now officially on the bench though, and he won't make his in-ring return for around 10 months. Austin needed to have spinal surgery. The neck issues he's been dealing with since the summer of 1997 have finally caught up to him, and that means Austin's going to miss WrestleMania 2000, which is pretty bad for both Stone Cold and the WWF. We also don't know what this means for tonight's main event, but Stone Cold gets put on a stretcher and Triple H tells Vince McMahon he had nothing to do with what just happened. Triple H and DX will not take the blame for this one. Austin sent away in an ambulance. The show continues on. You could call this a bait and switch, seeing as WWF knew Austin wasn't going to compete, but in fairness, they did create a good little whodunit mystery tonight at Survivor Series. So where do you go after seeing a man getting run over by a car? That's right, an Intercontinental title match, of course. I mean, it's not like they would stop the show for any horrible tragedies that would happen to take place. Yeah, that would just be silly. It's an intergender match for the IC Championship as Chyna defends the belt against Chris Jericho. I feel so bad for these two, as how the hell is anyone meant to focus on the match after what just happened? Even as both are making their entrances, all the commentary team are talking about is the incident with Austin, which, yeah, I understand is a big incident. So then why not have JR and King doing a piece to the camera for a few minutes or something? It's not like they're pushed for time, as the majority of matches so far have been pretty short. Anyway, I digress. Maybe to put the attention back on the match, Jericho and Chyna immediately go to brawling before the bell's even rung. Jericho shoves Miss Kitty down before he gets knocked down from a Chyna clothesline. Kitty then gets in on the act, putting the boots to Jericho, and Chris retreats to the outside. Y2J gets sent into the ropes, but Chyna misses her follow-up attack, flying into the security barrier. Jericho then chokes Chyna with a cable, which I would have thought would have been a DQ, but sure, what do I know. Jericho keeps the advantage back inside the ring, laying in shots in the corner, but Chyna is able to drop him across the top rope before hooking Jericho for a German suplex. Y2J delivers a low blow to escape, but Chyna no-sells it. Now, I'm no biologist, but I'm pretty sure that would still hurt. But sure, wrestling, I guess. Anyway, Chyna scores with a Hurricane Rana, but she gets sent over the top rope to the floor following an Irish whip from the Ayatollah. Jericho looks to inject some life to the match by connecting with a springboard crossbody to the outside before screaming, "Come on, you bitch," at his opponent. A delightful young man, that Chris Jericho. He then sends Chyna over the commentary table before pouring a bottle of water over her, telling her to take a shower, "You filthy, disgusting slut." I mean, Jesus Christ, lad, calm down, would you? He then removes the padding from the security wall and he throws Chyna into it before blowing a kiss to the camera. Back in the ring, Jericho hits a missile dropkick for a near fall whilst JR and King continue to talk about Austin. Jericho then starts to toy with Chyna before delivering a vertical suplex, and he mocks his opponent with his one-footed pin. Chyna fights back with a few forearms, she gets a few boos from the crowd, but Y2J is able to regain control with a Bulldog and a slingshot splash from the outside in. He then turns his attention to Miss Kitty, and man, if that doesn't get her going, then I don't know what will. Jericho stays in control with a spinning wheel kick, after which he hits his sweet strut taunt before once again sending Chyna to the outside. Jericho then forces himself upon Miss Kitty, which we can all agree isn't great. He also does it right in front of King, which I'm sure wasn't awkward at all. She's rightfully miffed and she jumps on Jericho's back, but she gets taken down to the floor. The distraction's enough for Chyna to hit a spear on the floor before sending the challenger into the ring post. Back in the ring though, Jericho regains the momentum with a pretty ropey looking powerbomb, but his subsequent pin attempts only garner 2 counts. Chyna's able to roll out of the way of a lion salt, and Y2J gets floored with a back elbow and a clothesline before Chyna hits her cartwheel back elbow in the corner, followed by a DDT. Earl Hebner then gets knocked down, which allows Jericho to smack Chyna over the head with the IC belt, but even that isn't enough to put the champion away. Chyna is able to score with a pedigree, but Jericho kicks out to a massive pop. Chyna then goes for a Hurricane Rana, Jericho counters, and he locks in the walls of Jericho. After a prolonged struggle, Chyna is able to make it to the ropes, much to the annoyance of the challenger and the crowd. Both competitors find themselves on the middle rope, and a Miss Kitty distraction allows Chyna to hit a low blow before hitting a top rope pedigree. Fucking hell, wasn't expecting that. Granted, it wasn't perfect by a long shot, but still fair play for trying it. Chyna makes the cover, and the 9th Wonder of the World retains her Intercontinental title here at Survivor Series. This match wasn't brilliant if I'm honest, it was a bit start-stop and a tad sloppy in places, but it puts Chyna over as a badass, seeing as she was able to withstand a lot of punishment. Something else to note here though is the fact that the crowd cheered for Chris Jericho while booing Chyna. This was unexpected, and I'm sure it made Y2J feel pretty good about himself. Triple H is looking for Vince McMahon, but the bosses went to the hospital with Stone Cold. Hunter explains to Shane that yes, DX were trying to ambush Stone Cold earlier on, but they didn't know someone was going to knock Austin down while driving a car. Triple H then wonders if tonight's main event's now going to be a one-on-one affair, and Shane says Hunter's unbelievable. All Triple H cares about is the WWF title, and he's told to leave the room while Shane tries to figure it out. Hunter says sorry for wrecking Test's nose on SmackDown, and Test says he's sorry about Hunter's nose while calling him Gonzo. Next up, we have our final Survivor Series match. The Hardy Boys team up with Edge and Christian to take on the Hollies in Too Cool, a match we actually saw 2 weeks ago on Raw. It's funny hearing Jim Ross call Brian Christopher Grandmaster Sex A, but we begin with Scotty 2 Hotty and Edge trading a few open hand slaps in the corner, but Scotty tags out after taking a spinning wheel kick. Matt Hardy and Crash Holly do a little work together, allowing Matt to perform a dive over the top rope. This leads to other superstars following suit, practically everyone but Bob Holly and Edge. And Grandmaster Sex A's Sunset Powerbomb looked particularly good here. Christopher pulls off a running Bulldog back inside the ring. He then puts his goggles on as he looks for another one, but he gets his little Grandmaster smashed into the ring post and the cameraman gets wiped out too. Edge comes in to hand out a few spears to the Holly cousins, and Brian decides to dance in the ring, and this lets Edge perform another spear. The babyface team then begin to have problems when Edge accidentally spears Matt. Bob Holly takes advantage here and he surprises Edge with a schoolboy pin. Edge has been eliminated and Matt gets sent home too following a diving DDT from Scotty 2 Hotty. Jim Ross thinks the babyfaces messed up here by trying to outdo one another, but there's no time to think about such meaningless things because here's a worm from Scotty 2 Hotty. Too Cool pull off a double powerbomb on Jeff. Jeff manages to kick out. They even pull off a heart attack, but again Jeff's able to stay in the match. Terry Runnels tries to slow Too Cool down, but it doesn't work. What does work though is a low blow from Christian. This allows Jeff to pull off a 450 splash and Scotty 2 Hotty gets eliminated. Like on Raw a few weeks back, Christian and Jeff Hardy work very well together as they pull off double team moves on Crash Holly. This time they go to the well one too many times though, and Hardcore's able to pull off a great looking dropkick to intercept Christian. Grandmaster Sexy then delivers the Tennessee Jam to Jeff Hardy, or the hip hop drop, and Jeff gets eliminated. Christopher celebrates and Christian takes advantage with a fallen inverted DDT, and so it comes down to Christian versus the Holly Cousins. The odds were against Captain Charisma here, but he did manage to eliminate Crash with the Unprettier. But Bastard Bob was able to counter a victory roll, and Hardcore wins the match for his team. The match was alright, though it seemed like the babyfaces were holding back a little in order to put a spotlight on Too Cool. Shane McMahon spoke with his dad, and Austin suffered severe head, neck, and back trauma. Austin's in a lot of pain and he won't be competing in tonight's main event. There's still going to be a triple threat match, but we don't know who's going to serve as Stone Cold's replacement. Our semi-main event is a tag team title match. Champions the New Age Outlaws versus Al Snow and Mankind. Mankind says he's going to be thinking about Stone Cold as the rattlesnake lays in hospital, but right at this moment, both he and his tag team partner are going to be thinking of two other things: the asses of Road Dogg and Billy Gunn. The joke doesn't get much of a reaction. Jerry Lawler makes a good point when he says this is the first time we have seen Billy Gunn all night, implying that Billy could have been the one driving the car earlier on. Mankind gives Billy a clean break while Mr. Ass doesn't show the same grace. Billy puts Mankind down with a neck breaker, and look at this, a sleeper within the first minute of the match. The crowd chant "We want head" as the hold stays locked in, and Foley frees himself by throwing his opponent and himself out of the ring. On the outside, the Outlaws try to double team Mick, but Road Dogg ends up hitting his partner in the face. Top work, lad. And so Al Snow and Road Dogg take over in the ring. Seeing as the New Age Outlaws are heels, we shouldn't be looking at a Billy Gunn hot tag in this match. Al performs a pretty unique jawbreaker before putting his opponent down with a clothesline and a suplex. Foley comes back in to beat the shit out of Road Dogg in the corner. The DOGG takes the running knee, and on the outside, Snow hits Al with a chair before he and Mick show off some nice teamwork. Road Dogg takes another chair shot before suffering some chin abuse in the ring. The challengers then dominate Jesse in the corner with Al laying in a ton of kicks. And I might have been very wrong with my statement earlier on. Maybe Billy will get a hot tag because honestly the challengers are wrestling like heels right here. It's a bit weird. Road Dogg goes for the Dancy Punch, but Snow dodges it by underhooking the arms and delivering a few headbutts. But Road Dogg tries again and he knocks Al down. Road Dogg reaches for a tag. Mick Foley ensures that James doesn't make it, but Billy gets in the ring anyway, and that means there won't be a hot tag. Billy gets way too involved here, and he just takes over as the legal man when the match resumes in the ring, so there wasn't a tag at all. Snow gets catapulted into the bottom rope. Road Dogg delivers a double axe handle from the apron. Billy tags Road Dogg back in, and this match is seriously gone to shit since the Outlaws took over. It's certainly not like them, but the flow of the match is all over the place. Road Dogg stays on offense until Al performs a hard clothesline. Both men then tag out, and there's no crowd reaction as Mick Foley goes to work. He does save it a little by trying his own version of the shake, rattle and roll, but it seems like this one's rapidly going downhill. Billy pulls off a famouser on Mankind. Road Dogg covers Mick, but Foley kicks out. Road Dogg then tries his pump-handled slam, but a low blow keeps Mick out of trouble. Our match goes into its final stage when Al performs a snowplow on Road Dogg while Mick performs his double-arm DDT on Billy Gunn. Foley then applies the mandible claw on both Outlaws, but he takes a double low blow for his troubles. Turnabout's fair play, I guess. Snow whacks Road Dogg with head and the crowd are now getting into it. It's amazing what a little head can do. But it's the Outlaws who end up getting the win when Al gets neutralized on the outside and Mankind takes a spike pile driver. 4 veterans right here, and their match just didn't work out. The Outlaws have done good work with Mick Foley in the past, and Snow definitely knows his way around a ring, so I've no idea what happened here. There was nothing precisely wrong with the match, the crowd just didn't react, and it seemed like at certain points, and judging by their in-ring actions, both teams forgot who the babyfaces were and who the heels were. We don't have a terrible lot of storyline heading into our main event. The Rock accidentally cost Stone Cold the WWF Championship at No Mercy. Triple H thought he was hot shit the next night on Raw, and so Vince McMahon booked a triple threat match for Survivor Series featuring 3 of WWF's biggest superstars. Triple H reformed D-Generation X, and the faction's been running roughshod, particularly on SmackDown, and that's really all there is to it. The biggest moment of the build-up happened tonight at Survivor Series when Stone Cold got knocked down. We do have someone that's going to replace Stone Cold tonight, and really, it's anyone's guess who it could be. Rock and Triple H make their way down to the ring. This is one of my favourite Triple H entrances, by the way, with some fantastic camera work being done by the production team. And then Howard Finkel announces that Austin's replacement's about to head down to the ring. The Big Show's entrance music plays, and I love The Rock's reaction here. He's like, wait, The Big Show? Really? Like he's almost disappointed by the replacement choice. Indeed, it is a bit odd seeing as Big Show hasn't been involved in the title picture at all, and I'm guessing the company felt the sympathy he had received through the Big Boss Man storyline was enough to put him in this main event. Whatever the case, I remember not being too excited about this replacement back in '99, but let's see if the match was actually any good. Triple H defends his WWF Championship against The Rock and The Big Show. Rock and Triple H put their differences aside to try to take out the big man. Smart plan. Show receives a ton of right hands, but he no-sells them all by taking Rock and Hunter down with a double clothesline. Show's moving with a lot of urgency here, and for some reason, The Rock saves Triple H when Show lifts the champ up for a chokeslam. Rock takes a back elbow, and this allows Triple H to get in a few more punches. And when Rock comes over to help Triple H once again, the Big Show gets sent to the outside. Show doesn't allow Rock and Hunter to fight each other, instead he pulls Rock out of the ring, but the Great One manages to throw the big man into the ring post. Once again, the physicality between Hunter and Rock's kept to a minimum as Show breaks up their fight, and absolutely no disrespect to Big Show here, but I do wish Stone Cold was involved in this match. I'm not really enjoying the pace of this one, but it's still early days. Triple H gets choked out by Big Show's big boot. Rock performs a Russian leg sweep on Show. Rock then goes for the people's elbow, and fans get to see the most electrifying move in sports entertainment. Helmsley's right there though to break up the cover. We see some brief teamwork from Show and Triple H with a facebreaker knee smash into a sidewalk slam, but this alliance doesn't last very long as Show throws Hunter to the outside. The two then go all the way up the entranceway where Triple H gets dropped on the guardrail. Rock joins the fight with a clothesline to the Big Show. As is tradition in 1999 WWF pay-per-view main events, we get some brawling at the side of the entranceway and Triple H gets put through a table. Hunter and Rock then head to the other side before Show wakes up, but when Show does finally join his fellow competitors, The Rock manages to clock him with a fire extinguisher. It looked absolutely shit. Triple H saves Rock from taking a chokeslam on the outside, I've no idea why, and the competitors slowly make their way back down the entranceway for a fight around the ring and at the announcer's table. I'm sorry guys, but this is boring as fuck so far. I know this isn't the match WWF wanted to present, and it seems like everything was thrown together at the last minute, but we aren't seeing anything remotely new here. This is a very typical WWF pay-per-view main event, and I absolutely expect the men to begin fighting through the crowd next. It's bound to happen. We do get a pretty awesome moment when Rock and Triple H put Show through a table with a big suplex, but then after this spot we go into the audience as predicted. All we need now is a referee bump and some shenanigans before we can officially throw this one in the bin. After The Rock and Hunter get done fighting through the crowd, we get the referee bump. Rock clotheslines Earl Hebner, and now we have no official. Hunter avoids a rock bottom, The Rock counters a pedigree with a catapult, Rock goes for the rock bottom once again, and there it is. We have no referee to count the pinfall, so here comes Shane McMahon wearing the stripes. 1, 2, kick out before 3. Triple H takes another rock bottom after Rockjaw jacks Shane McMahon for a bit, but this time Show pulls the referee out of the ring and now the crowd's getting into it. Show puts Rock on the announce table and he pummels him with hard elbows and forearms, and Show performs a huge bail on Triple H before going back out to The Rock. Rock gets thrown into the ring steps, but back in the ring, Hunter's grabbed his WWF belt. When Shane tries to take it away, the Boy Wonder gets pedigreed. But Rock and Big Show get back in the ring, and the Big Show's the only man standing after Triple H takes a DDT from Rock, and Rock takes a forearm to the head. D-Generation X then show up to help Triple H out. Billy Gunn attacks Show, X-Pac and Road Dogg take care of Rock. It looks like this one's all over, but then Vince McMahon walks down the ramp. Vince is returned from hospital and he's got a pretty stern look on his face. There's been a big question mark over Vince, seeing as he kept screwing up and hitting babyfaces by accident when trying this exact spot. Triple H ducks out of the way when Vince comes swinging, but McMahon doesn't miss on his second attempt. Hunter walks right into a chokeslam and Vince McMahon makes the count. The Big Show wins the WWF Championship at Survivor Series 99 and yeah, quite the turn of events here. Show is a former WCW World Heavyweight Champion. He was a huge signing for Vince McMahon earlier in the year, but the WWF have booked him pretty terribly since Mania 15, and it's kinda shocking that he'd win the WWF's biggest prize here on pay-per-view. I guess no one saw it coming, and that's a good thing, but I personally don't think Big Show was in the same league as Austin, Rock and Triple H, at least at this very point in time. Again, it wasn't Show's fault, it's the way WWF booked him. JR says Big Show did this for his dad. The big man's had a traumatic week and this must be a very emotional moment for Paul White. But just in case you didn't know, and I do feel kinda dumb for saying this, but the Big Show's dad was really alive and well. He passed away in 2016. Why do I bring this up? Well, wrestling is, of course, scripted, but when guys win the WWF title, there's usually something a little real about it. Like the company are going to go with you as the main man, and your contributions to the company have earned you the right to call yourself champion. The WWF are instead opting to go along with this sympathetic storyline, which is completely fabricated, so it does take away from the moment a little. I would have preferred a more real reason for Show winning the belt, like he came to WWF after a big run in WCW, he had to overcome the odds when WWF veterans gave him a hard time in the locker room, you know, that kind of thing. And look, I know, it's all a big work, but with how absurd Daddy Show's funeral was, absolutely no one was buying it. Not a great show here from the WWF, although it did have potential. Honestly, the highlight for me was Kurt Angle's debut, and I guess Jericho vs Chyna was kinda interesting, but I can't recommend this one. It seemed to go downhill the more it went on. 1998 Survivor Series was leagues better, and it's a shame too because, as mentioned, this one looked pretty good on paper. Losing Steve Austin's a tough break for sure, and it must have caused a lot of turmoil backstage. But now the WWF are going to have to move forward without their biggest babyface. This also means there's opportunities available for other talent to step up their game, so we'll see how it all plays out in the coming weeks on Reliving the War. Check out Kurt Angle's debut for sure though, and if you really want to see the main event, I'd recommend only watching the final few minutes. Thanks for watching everyone, I'll see you all on Thursday for Reliving the War, and please take care.